There is a strange and beautiful thing that happens when you loosen your grip on life. Not the dramatic surrender people imagine, like a warrior dropping his sword on the battlefield, but a far quieter gesture, a softening, a breath, a moment when you stop wrestling with what is happening and simply allow it to unfold. And in that instant, you discover something most extraordinary. Letting go is not losing. It is finally seeing. But of course, this is not how we are taught to move through the world. We are taught to cling, to hold fast, to guard what we love, to tighten our fingers around every desire, as though life were a turbulent wind ready to steal it all away. We try to control the uncontrollable, shape the shapeless, and bind the ever-changing with the ropes of our own expectations. And naturally, the more tightly we cling, the more life slips through the cracks. Imagine holding a handful of water. The harder you squeeze, the faster it escapes your grasp. But let your hand remain open, relaxed, receptive, and the water rests there, glimmering in the light. Life behaves much the same way. It is not something you can keep through force. It is something that reveals itself when you stop trying to possess it. Now, of course, letting go sounds frightening because we confuse it with abandonment. We believe that releasing our grip on anything means it will vanish, or worse, that we will vanish with it. But instead, something else happens. When you stop clutching at life, when you stop trying to impose your will upon the great flowing mystery, you begin to see the world clearly, without the distortions of fear and desire. You begin to see yourself. Letting go is like removing a smudged pair of glasses you did not realize you were wearing. Suddenly, the world is transparent, shimmering, whole. You notice the subtleties. You hear the quiet. You feel the movement of life as it passes through you rather than around you. And there is an immense relief in that, a relief that comes from no longer insisting that life be a certain way before you allow yourself to be at peace. You see, we tend to approach life as though we are its custodians, as though it were our job to manage the universe. We arrange, we plan, we manipulate, we calculate. And underneath all of that effort is a silent fear. A fear that if we stop controlling, everything will fall apart. But the curious truth is that things fall apart precisely because we try to control them. The flower that is clenched too tightly is crushed. The relationship that is held with possessiveness suffocates. The dream that is forced refuses to bloom. When you let go, you do not lose. You merely stop interfering with what is already trying to happen. Consider a boat floating on a river. The oarsman who insists on rowing upstream exhausts himself and gets nowhere. But the one who lifts the oars and allows the current to guide him discovers a new rhythm. Not laziness, not passivity, but harmony with the flow of things. He arrives not where he planned to be, but where life has been inviting him all along. And often he finds it is precisely where he needed to be. You might ask, if I let go, who will steer the ship of my life? But notice the subtle assumption in that question. You imagine that you are separate from the river, separate from the flow, separate from the intelligence of life itself. Yet everything you have ever done, every impulse you have acted on, every breath you have taken, has been part of a larger movement. You are not the captain standing on the deck giving orders. You are the water, the wind, the wave. Letting go is simply the recognition of this. It is seeing that life has always been moving with you, through you, as you, and that the illusion of control was only ever a mask worn by the ego to feel secure. We cling because we are afraid, but what we are afraid of is not loss. It is the possibility that we might not be who we imagine ourselves to be without the things we cling to. Yet the moment we loosen our grip, the moment we allow something to fall away naturally, we discover that who we are is far more spacious, far more fluid, far more resilient than the ego ever believed. Letting go does not diminish you. It expands you. And once you sense that expansion, even faintly, a profound shift begins to occur. You notice that the world becomes less of a battlefield and more of a living conversation. Instead of struggling against every change, you begin to dance with it. Instead of fearing impermanence, you start to trust it. And instead of trying to force life to match your desires, you allow your desires to be shaped by the living moment. Letting go is the doorway to intimacy with reality. For so long, we live like guests in our own lives, tiptoeing around, afraid to disturb anything, or rushing through, trying to rearrange everything to match our fantasies. But when you let go, when you stop running from discomfort and stop clutching at comfort, you discover that reality, exactly as it is, has a kind of quiet beauty that cannot be grasped but can be felt. It is like standing on a mountain at dawn. If you try to capture the moment with desperate longing, if you insist that the sunrise remain exactly the same forever, you miss its essence. But if you watch it without clinging, without wanting anything from it, the colours bloom in their full glory and you are filled with awe. Not because you held on, but because you allowed it to pass. This is what seeing truly means. Not fixing, not analysing, not improving, but encountering life directly. Raw, immediate, unmediated by fear or desire. When you let go, you are not turning away from life, you are turning toward it with open eyes. And here is something even more remarkable. When you stop trying to grip the world begins to reveal its natural rhythm. You start to notice how every emotion rises and falls on its own. How every thought comes and goes without being pushed. How every person in your life follows their own unfolding path. You see that control was never the source of stability. Awareness was. The tighter you cling, the more blind you become. The more you release, the more clearly you see. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop distorting your caring with fear. Think of love. When you cling to someone out of fear of losing them, you are no longer loving them. You are trying to possess an image that exists only in your mind. But when you let go, When you allow the other to be fully themselves, love becomes spacious. It breathes. It thrives. Because love is not a cage. Love is the freedom to see another clearly and to be seen clearly in return. Letting go in love is not losing the other. It is finally seeing the other. The same is true for dreams. Dreams are not meant to be gripped like a rope. They are meant to be carried like a flame. If you clutch the flame too tightly, you smother it. But hold it gently, allow it to breathe, and it will illuminate your path in ways you could never have engineered. Life itself is like that flame. And so, gradually, you begin to realize that letting go is not a single act. It is a way of seeing, a way of being, a way of meeting each moment with a soft, receptive heart. You let go of your insistence that things must make sense. You let go of your need to know what comes next. You let go of the stories that no longer serve you. And, strangely, in that gentle releasing, you become more alive, not less. Because what you are letting go of is not life, but your illusions about life. You are not losing anything real. You are losing only the tightness, the rigidity, the self-imposed tension that kept you from seeing clearly. And when those fall away, even for a breath, something extraordinary happens. You feel the pulse of existence. You sense the intelligence of the moment. You taste the freedom of being exactly where you are, without needing to be anywhere else. That freedom is not something you create. It is something you uncover. It is what remains when you stop clinging to what was never yours to control. You begin to trust the deeper movement of your life, the one that has carried you from your first moment to this one, the one that breathes you, grows you, transforms you without your permission. Letting go is surrendering to that movement, not as defeat, but as recognition. You are not separate from life. You are life. And when you let go, you return to that truth with a sense of wonder. You return to the quiet center behind all your striving. You return to the awareness that is always here, untroubled, spacious, whole. So let go gently. Let go often. Let go not as a sacrifice, but as a celebration of the fact that everything that is real cannot be lost. And everything that can be lost was never truly you. In that gentle falling away, you finally see.